It makes no sense. It makes no freaking sense. Hi, I'm Joel, and you're probably wondering how I got into this situation. It all started when I was working on my Big Bluey over analysis video. When I started working on that video a while back, the biggest YouTuber to ever talk about Bluey was Mr. Foot of a Fair. So I thought, hey, if I make a video on the show, I won't really be stepping on anyone's toes, and people can't accuse me of plagiarism. Win-win. And, of course, the odd ones out would prove me wrong later. But before that could happen, guess what video popped up in my notification feed? Matthew Patrick has stolen ideas straight out of my noggin. Again. Okay, but I do have a small confession to make. I love the theory channels. In case you couldn't already tell, I overanalyze everything. So of course when MatPat uploads the videos on Bluey, I immediately threw a temper tantrum. Oh, you think you can just waltz right in here, Pathumatric? You can ruin every single TV show I hold dear growing up. But Bluey, you're sick, man. Actually, that episode wasn't that bad. It was more of a debunk theory than anything. No, my point still stands. I think Bluey is an amazing show just how it is, and it doesn't need any theory claiming, oh, it's all in the mind of Bingo on her deathbed to ruin the entire show for me. And yet, I still feel like there's something off about this show. So join me as I become the one thing I swore to destroy, the Bluey theorist. This episode of Studio Jalam is called whatever I decide to call it after editing.
Also, according to this graph, less than 0.5% of you are from Australia. So if you are, leave a comment to let me know.
So the thing that originally triggered my theorist alarms is a scene from the episode Fairies. Now, for a bit of context, Bluey is a rather grounded show. Sure, all the characters are giant anthropomorphic dog rectangles, but other than that, there's nothing really strange about this world. Well, other than this family's superb acting skills. Seriously, get these guys an Emmy or whatever, look, get off my back. So in Fairies, the plot is kicked off when Bandit snaps at Bingo, and now she big sad. When all of a sudden, strange things starts happening around the house. Braided tails, decaled bottoms, magic rings of rocks that force whoever's inside to dance eternally. The parents are quick to recognize the threat as fairies, and they seem genuinely terrified. As the plot progresses, more and more strange things happen around the house, culminating in Bingo getting frozen and Bandit having to dance around their mailbox.
Dancing round our letterbox.
Sorry, letterbox. And at this point it seemed like a regular episode. Clearly Bingo is just being a nuisance around the house and everybody is just playing around because they're the healers. Of course is that a freaking fairy? Yeah, just out of nowhere they just confirmed that not only do fairies and magic exist in this world, but not all the fun Bluey Play Pretend adventures are entirely play pretend. If fairies are canon, then what other episodes have more than meet the eye? So I turned my magic detecting alarm on, and oh, there's literally an episode called Magic. In Magic, Bingo's big sad because Mom doesn't want to play with her right now. Are you sensing a pattern? When Bluey learns of this, she teaches her about magic. They use magic to force Bandit and the next door neighbor to play with him when dun dun dun, Mom! Chili shows up and reveals that not only does she have magic, but hers is also stronger. Cue epic, definitely not Star Wars inspired fight scene.
The pizza boy is not the solution.
So I think the healers have access to supernatural capabilities, but I know how you might respond to that. Joel, that's a lovely theory. It would be a shame if it could be easily debunked with a single clip from that episode.
I can make your tail go this way. Oh, Bingo. Pretend my hand controls your tail. Oh, okay.
And yeah, Bluey downright says at the start of the episode that magic only works when you play pretend. Which, you know, case closed, there's nothing weird about Bluey, let's go home, is what I would have said. But this episode still feels a bit odd. Like how multiple times during the episode magic is used successfully without the victim knowing beforehand. Usually when playing games you have to communicate with whom you are controlling, so this is a bit odd. But you notice how Bandit doesn't even pretend to have powers? Could magic be something from Mom's side of the family, and thus would show more prominently in the kids with her genes, aka Bingo, and less in the kids with Bandit's genes, aka Bluey? So does Bingo have magic? Well, to answer that, let's look at one of the earliest episodes with magic in it. In Season 1, Episode 13, Spy Game, the healers are at a barbecue party, I think, with some other families, but the kids are on a secret mission. They are stealing adults' hair so they can brew magic potions that can control the grown-ups. To make a long story short, Bingo was in charge of the actual brewing the potions, but got big sad and stopped playing the game. But the potion was almost done, so they finished it to the best of their abilities and tried to use it on the grown-ups. And it worked!
Bluey's mum. get up and dance around.
Kind of, which immediately means something's afoot. Buggy or not, the magic worked. And later in the episode, when they reconcile with Bingo and she fixes the potion and then controls it,
Go crazy!
it works flawlessly. I don't know about you, but in my opinion, one coincidence is an oddity. Two coincidences is a pattern. Also, arson is a crime. And this isn't the only episode that Bingo displays her power. In Feather Wand, Bingo, say it with me, gets big sad. So she literally infuses a feather with supernatural capability and terrorizes her household. And you might say, Joel, you have no evidence that this episode is anything more than silly fun. I mean, look at that ball. That doesn't look like an incredibly heavy object. Well, that's where you're wrong. In the episode Yoga Ball, they do the exact same thing and the ball goes flying. Also explain how you could play pretend using a broom as a lever to try and lift a spoon and exert enough force to squish the football acting as a fulcrum and bend the broom if the spoon is a normal weight. Other episodes I found where an ordinary object is given wand-like abilities is Daddy Drop-Off, where Bingo finds a leaf and then it be magic, and Asparagus, which is interesting because in this episode, Bluey has her hands on the magic wand. But where did she get it from? That's right, good old magical mom. There's actually one other instance of a wand I found in this show in the episode Chicken Rat, but interestingly, Bingo seems to never actually touch it, and yet it still has the power to turn Bandit into the titular Chicken Rat. So is my entire theory baloney? Not so fast. As we see at the end of the episode, Bandit breaks character.
Sorry, I got a problem.
Making me conclude that Bluey's wand never actually had powers, it's just Bandit's infamous sticking to the bit, which we'll get back to in a bit. That actually reminds me of the very first episode in the entire show, Magic Xylophone. Is this one play pretend as well? Well, in this case, the magic comes from an enchanted object like an asparagus, so it is very possible that Chili or Bingo enchanted it before this episode, as it is implied that the xylophone isn't a new thing. There's also the detail that neither Chili nor Bingo ever get frozen in this episode, implying that they might have some form of resistance. Interestingly enough, we also see this resistance in Asparagus, where originally Bingo objected to being controlled by the asparagus. We also see Chili use his freezing power very similar to the xylophone in the episode Housework. And speaking of Chili, you ever notice something odd about the weather whenever she's around? Several times in the show, the weather seems to change based on her mood. Like in Sticky Gecko, where the outside is windy in the entire episode until she eventually calms down, where all the wind disappears. Or in the episode Rain, where when Chili actually starts to have fun in the rain, what happens? It stops. Aesthetic choice, plot device, or possible magic sighting. Who knows? One final episode I feel the need to point out is Onesies, which reveals that Bingo tends to lose herself whenever she wears a onesie. She quote-unquote becomes one with the onesie. We see this in the episode where she literally becomes a cheetah and hunts down her entire family. Is this her subconsciously using her powers like Chili does with the weather? Who knows? I don't. This one could be either way. After all, so in conclusion, Orange Healer has magic. Blue Healer doesn't have magic. In fact, remember back to the episode that got me down in this rabbit hole in the first place? Who was able to see the fairies? That's right, Bingo. And who couldn't? That's right, Bandit. Glad y'all have been taking notes. Really brings into question how much of Bandit's acting is being really good at sticking to the bit, and how much of it is him being secretly held against his will. Dagnabbit, I promised this theory wouldn't ruin Bluey for anyone. Even after all that, this is just a theory. But it's a theory I'm mostly convinced about. But there's still one huge counterpoint to this whole video. Every episode I talked about today could possibly be explained by Occam's razor. They're just playing pretend. But at the same time, I do feel they are a bit too committed to the bits in the episodes we went over today. In episodes like Sheepdog or Horsey Ride, there's no implication of magic, it's just a game. And we see Bandit breaking rules, resisting, and overall still being himself.
I'm the luckiest horse in the world.
Horses can't talk.
Which is something we never see from any of the episodes with magic. So I'm at least convinced. Honestly, the thing that would put the nail in the coffin for me is if we start seeing weird stuff coming from somebody else on Chili's side of the family. Could it be the reason why Mort was in the military? Could it be part of the reason why Brandy wants children so desperately? How does magic work? What can it do? What can't it do? Does it come from the fairies? And why does it seem something is off about these fairies? Why does in Barking Boats, Bluey writes a letter to them that almost sounds like a prayer? Does the Tooth Fairy actually exist? Also, what's up with all these gnomes? Surely I'm not the only person who notices the abundance race of small stone people. And Calypso. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're running a cult with your whole brother wind and father son junkie going on. I've got my eyes on you. Did gnomes used to be the superior race? Did they have a war with the fairies and they got all turned to stone? It makes no sense. It makes no freaking sense! Sorry, I just had to get that in there for continuity's sake. One more question. What does this fearsome enchanted canine want from Bandit in the first place? She claims she doesn't remember meeting him when they were kids, but could that all be a ruse? What are your plans, Chili Dog? There are so many other questions, but I am too tired to think about it. If MatPat or anyone else wants to do a theory video jumping off the back of this one, go right ahead. ChatGPT, write me an outro. I'm going to bed. Have a wonderful day.
To delve deeper into the lore of Bluey, make sure to watch Joel's video on his channel, Studio Jam. You'll discover a captivating analysis that will leave you pondering the show's secrets long after the video ends. Don't forget to subscribe to Joel's channel to stay updated with his future videos. Join us next time as we continue to question, explore, and appreciate the wonders that Bluey has to offer. This is ChatGPT, signing off.